everyone for coming. Yes, thank you again, everyone for coming. It's the end of the year, and I thought of some special topic. As Hayat said, I already hosted many events. Actually, I counted, I think I did at least 24 this year on Internations on various topics. And I'm really excited to talk about this one because it's not something we hear a lot. It's not something we learn how to do it. And some people even have questions, is it even possible? And what is it for? Don't we just want to have our human experience and suffer at some point and just maybe, you know, stumble around and find something and maybe be happy, maybe not. And that's why I'm really excited and I want to hear your opinions and maybe some comments at the end. The presentation will go for about 30 minutes and I will share some of the slides. All right. So basically, first of all, I know this is the topic where maybe you want to learn a little bit about me because you know, who am I to talk about this topic and what credentials do I have? And I know usually when you go to different conferences, people, you know, throw at you their titles. I want to tell you, I do not have PhD in spiritual enlightenment, just because there is none. However, I want to basically share a little bit of my journey so that you know where I'm coming from. Basically in 2006, 15 years ago, I was clinically depressed. And it was a really heavy depression that, you know, I almost was paralyzed at some point. My whole body was excruciating physical pain. And I dealt with it and I kind of was unhappy for some time coming out of this, but kind of feeling that something is really wrong with me. Until in 2010, again, something happened. I was kidnapped and it was also a very tragic experience, but I would say that this really shocked my whole body. And we usually call something like, an idea came to me that something is wrong with the world. It's not just me, something wrong, but it's something wrong with the world and I need to find the explanation to that. So basically, I basically started searching and going to different workshops and reading all kinds of books, and you can just see some of the examples, what I did. Obviously, I was looking for the right way. Which way is the true way? Because a lot of maybe schools of thought and religions, they claim they know the way of living the life correctly and achieving some kind of happiness in this lifetime or afterwards. But it was a little bit strange because there were so many approaches and there wasn't one. So I was basically searching for the one and I wanted to test it on myself because clearly I wasn't happy. And the result of that was this website that I created. And again, this was 10 years ago. It was called the Ultimate Answer. And basically, the product of it was the happiness formula that you can enter all your information and you can gauge where you are right now, what you need to work on. And it's basically part of the quantified self movement. I'm sure some of you heard of it. And that's why since then, we have a lot of apps that help you with personal development. The blog is still there, and now it's not a website, it's a blog. It's called The Ultimate Answer. When there are over 200 posts about my journey, looking for the one proper way of living. But here, I pasted just a few slides from my presentation from 10 years ago. What was fascinating, I just found it last night, and I thought it would be cool to share. So as you may know, there was a boom into 2010. Around that time, there were a lot of movements related to happiness. And one of them is actually the positive psychology movement as well. But the question I was asking here, why do we get born and we kind of start everything from scratch, right? We don't know what's the right way. We have to find it all over in every life we live. And the question was, how many books do we need to read, right? How many mistakes do we need to make to become happy? And why didn't life come with good life manual? And which doesn't exist. And this picture, which was again created 10 years ago, said that the estimates that in 2020, 30% of the world will be depressed. It's really interesting because that's when we had COVID, and probably the number was right because people were depressed or unhappy in one way or another because of COVID. So just to kind of give you a quick explanation what the happiness formula was about and the ultimate ends side, you basically create a snapshot of your satisfaction with life, of your happiness. And the formula is really easy. It's right on the left corner. It's basically what we have divided by what we want. It's a formula that is really used a lot in quantified self movement. You track this over time, right? And you create a journal where you explain why you feel a certain way. You make a wish list or goal where you want to be in one of these 20 areas. And basically, if you're really stuck, if you don't know the answer, you don't know what you're doing incorrectly, you can reach out to mentors. So the last step was ask or answer questions. And the highlight of this was that eventually humans will have the world brain, which was predicted by H.G. Wells, famous sci-fi writer, that the world brain will be the repository of friendly universe knowledge. And when we have an answer, we can ask that world brain, and you will be given this answer, right? You can implement it in your life, and in our lifetime, everyone will be able to become enlightened. So easy said than done. But you get the idea. Mentors were people who succeeded in the question that you are struggling with. So they will give you various answers. So this site didn't really survive because there were many other tools and other apps. So I just had to move on and convert it into a blog, just all kinds of blog posts about various schools of thought and personal development tools. But here I want to kind of dig deeper and maybe ask, what is spiritual enlightenment, right? Because I know that many people have different definitions. And one of them is basically it's a state of complete understanding and complete compassion and a full comprehension of a situation. Also, it's considered by most to be a higher state of consciousness than awakening. Awakening is the moment when you understand that something is wrong, either with you or with the world, and then you pursue some answers. Again, still, it may be not very clear, so we want to be more specific, right? Because there are different variations to this. Different scholars or people who are seekers, they wonder, is it a state of consciousness? So you achieve spiritual enlightenment and no one can actually get you out of this state, or it's a process that has basically, it's a journey and you will only know until you get to that final point. So it's not state of consciousness, it's the process. Also, is it self-realization or oneness? And here I will give some explanation. So oneness when you are feeling at one with the world. So you care about others as you care about yourself. However, self-realization is when you really try to achieve your own potential. And obviously, if you care about others, there may be some kind of conflict. You have to choose sometimes who's more important. Another interesting question, is it oneness or is it duality, polarity? And again, I kind of explain what I mean by that. Some people think that if I'm enlightened, I have to be good 100%. I cannot have any bad thoughts at any particular moment. I cannot have different wants, right? Everything has to be at one, full 100% compassion. However, other people say that there will always be some polarity in us, just because we're humans. And then final, does it really mean no judgment, no expectations, and no resistance to what's coming to you in your life? So again, those kind of get thrown around awakening, self-realization, and full enlightenment. So I want to show you a picture with several humans that we do know existed. Why I say that? Because clearly, usually founders of various religions, like Buddha or Jesus or Prophet Muhammad, they are considered to be enlightened at some point in their lives, but we don't have really their pictures. And some people even question whether they really existed in the form we think of them. But these people did exist or still exist now, today. And by looking at them, we know that they are famous. They're pursuing spiritual path in one form or another. And they achieved, I would say, great things, right, for the humanity, not just for themselves. So this kind of moment of oneness with the world. However, what is really interesting, even if someone did great things for the world, doesn't mean that they're spiritually enlightened. Because there are certain criteria to this definition that we will actually cover a little bit later in the slides. But one thing about, for example, people, if you don't know all of them, I'll name them. So the Dalai Lama, the current one, Mother Teresa, also Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Malala, famous The Power of Now writer from Germany, and obviously Martin Luther King. So what is really interesting, we don't really know whether they are enlightened or not. However, they achieve things that maybe we really want to achieve. But one of the things that are required for being enlightened is actually have inner peace. So when you accept whatever happens in the world, it doesn't mean that you agree with it, but you take it as it is, and obviously create a certain response. So again, records from these people's lives show interesting things that, for example, Mother Teresa, she was actually tormented kind of emotionally, mentally from inside all her life, because she did not agree with violence and how people were treated all around the world, not just in India, right? And the Dalai Lama, for example, if you know his story, he was almost killed when he was kicked out of Tibet, and he had to flee, and a lot of his people were killed. And I read his books, and he said, it's not that I totally agree and love the people who did it. I want our people to get back to Tibet, right? And not to be in exile. However, I have to accept this situation and move on. I have to create some kind of response, right? To help my people and maybe help other people to see that some injustice is happening in the world. So what are the qualities of enlightened individuals? Obviously insightful and open-minded, optimistic and capable to find solutions. And this is the interesting one, because very often we really want to fight something, right? And the way is that if we just know one solution, maybe it's not the right solution. We need to look for some other ones. So they kind of go with the flow, right? And then not necessarily my way or highway, right? But being more creative in finding new solutions. And maybe if not now, resolving something, that later. Emotionally stable, they have no fear, peaceful and serene, humble, not self-centered, compassionate, helpful and forgiving, and continuing education, spiritual practice and the path. And again, this is the interesting one, because if you're enlightened, you would think, okay, well, where should I really, continue and go on if I know everything, right? If I really got it. But I included a couple of interesting slides from other presentations I found online about this. And it is the map of consciousness, how we start as being children and how we progress, right? And this is learning something, reactions, other people, learning about our own reactions. And on the left, you see that the lowest levels are shame, guilt, and hatred, apathy. And then obviously it all goes more higher frequencies, right? Frequencies. And enlightenment is the pinnacle of this. But before that, just being peaceful, joyful, feeling love, and actually reason, being meaningful. So 10 signs of spiritual enlightenment. Observing your patterns, right? Feeling a sense of connection with others, letting go of attachment, finding inner peace, increasing your intuition, having synchronicity. And this is, sometimes we even just think about it and it may happen in our life at some point. And we're like, oh, this is coincidence. But very often we're so much in tune with the world that certain wishes come almost instantly. And then increasing your compassion, removing fear of death, increasing authenticity, and flourishing. So what was also really interesting, and I found it online, is that this is obviously hypothetical, but some people believe that we as humanity, we are working on, again, increasing our levels of frequency and getting better and better in being awakened and finally, obviously, being enlightened. If you look at this chart, you will see this kind of quadrant and you see 3D. So that's what humans are called when they are not awakened. We just live in our lives in 3 dimensions, and we have a normal ego, right? However, we move to 4D, to the right quadrant. If we achieve a self-realization, and it's one of the parts of it is basically oneness with the world. So we do have compassion for the world. If you look at 4D psychic awakening, this is the part when if people develop certain psychic abilities and they are healers, right? They're connected with energy. So it's basically also another dimension. You may call it spiritual. However, 5D, fully enlightened person who has both oneness with the world and this special psychic awakening or some kind of miracle powers, right? You can connect to energy and you can do things that other people cannot do. And it's really interesting because who can really do miracles, right? And obviously we heard about people who can heal others, resurrect others, but it's pretty rare. But without this particular oneness with the world, you cannot become enlightened. And some psychic people, they may have difficulty with it because they focus on polarity, duality. They may connect to the other dimension to get that energy. And other times they need to be more polarized or normalized. So they may not have this oneness with the world. Okay, so now this is really fun, this one, and I want to kind of explain this. So this breaks all stereotypes about people who are enlightened, because again, in my understanding, people who are enlightened, they were supposed to be saints 100% of the time. But this is not the case because, first of all, we are all humans, right? And as people age, they may have diseases and pain, and eventually really struggle with the physical part of us being human. When you do have pain, it doesn't mean that you're really happy about it and cheerful and singing songs. You have to deal with it. So the idea is that on the left, a 3D person, about 79, 80% of the time of the day, they just feel in their 3D dimensions, right? However, there are moments in their day or their typical week when they really feel compassion for others. And they may do things for others, not thinking about themselves, or they even may have some psychic abilities at some point, which is pretty rare, but they may do have that when they're in tune and they're thinking about someone, and maybe telepathy or other things. So the 4D person, we're moving to the second one, has less time, maybe 40% in 3D dimension, and they have more time to connect with the world, to feel this oneness, and maybe conquer their thoughts, their ego, right? And obviously they may have more synchronicity in their life. And then when we move to the 5D person, obviously there is still this regular 3D component, but it's very, very small. It's only 20%. And again, think about this, 3D being in this world. So going to the bathroom, right? Feeling pain, still having some maybe thoughts that come to you, but the way they master those thoughts, they don't let those thoughts run their personality. So the rest of 80% of their day a week, they actually more on a higher frequencies. And the same with the planet, okay? So they say that now we live still in 3D planet. So 80% of the world, they are in 3D dimensions, so they're not awakened. However, as we are moving towards more spiritually awakened people, there will be more people who are in 4D, who are either having special powers that they're connecting to the energy of other people and their own, or people who are really feeling oneness with the world, right? Who are more and more compassionate and understanding. And the goal that we are heading to, or we want to maybe see in the future, is that it is 5D planet where only 20% of people not awakened, and the rest of them, as I mentioned, either having special psychic abilities or have oneness with the world. Obviously, both, that will be 5D. So this is something to think about because it means that we still have this duality, polarity, because we are humans, right? But how do we really master that? And what are the main components? And I just want to give you a couple of ideas from different sources also. But clearly this question was covered in throughout centuries in philosophy, poetry, and religions. And the famous one that you may know from, for example, Christianity is the Serenity Prayer, right? So God, give us grace to accept the things that cannot be changed, courage to change the things that should be changed, and the wisdom to distinguish the one from. And basically it goes to acceptance of the world the way it is, but at the same time, you don't have to agree. If you have your own path, obviously self-realization of oneness with others, you have to pursue it. I'm not going to read the rest. You can look at that later. But I also really like the Buddhist approach, which really resonates with me, because it's not just about oneness, right? It's more about the truth of suffering. And some of you who studied Buddhism, they know even more about this. But the idea is this: if you are not awakened, you need to understand what suffering is, either from your life, your own example, or example of others. And then when you know how people suffer, you will actually learn the truth of the cause of suffering. What is causing it, right? What makes us suffer? And there are obviously different answers. One of them, like expectations. And then the truth of the end of suffering. So how do I end the suffering now that I know what's causing it, right? And then another one, it's completely another step when you know how do you implement it. Can you really deal with causes of suffering in your life and other people's life to actually pursue this path so that you can actually attain enlightenment? From my own approach that I've been suffering, as I told you, years ago, and from my childhood, the most important one, how to understand the end of suffering and the cause of suffering, is basically forgiving self and others. This is step one. Because when you forgive people and forgive yourself, that removes the victim mentality. So then you do not blame anyone or anything for what's happening, not even God, nature, politics. You basically accept what it comes to your life and find a solution, right? So this is the compassion, the oneness with the world. However, this is not enough, because the second one is taming our own ego. And I highly recommend Eckhart Tolle, who was on my slide. His latest book, it's called the New Earth, where he explains how humans are really getting to higher frequencies and what is going to happen to the world. And again, this is just a hypothesis, right? We don't really know whether it's going to happen or not. But taming our ego is that even if you forgive others, you may still have certain reactions in your body coming from your biological side, and also how you were raised, right? How your culture raised you. So observing those patterns and maybe negative thoughts and reactions that happen in your body, you need to master them, right? And we call this emotional intelligence. But ego is manifested through thoughts and emotions within you. So this is the second step, which is really, really important. And the last one, finding and pursuing our path. This also comes with self-realization, because we do have potential to do something in our lives. And sometimes we just, we don't know what it is. It's kind of like this hidden gift we have. But this is why people pursue learning all their lives, even if they are already at the state of mind of awakened and almost enlightened. What they're doing, they're learning more about the world, about themselves, helping others, and creating their own reality. So I want to kind of finish with a couple other slides, but this one I really, really like. Wisdom is knowing I am nothing. Love is knowing I'm everything. And between the two, my life moves. So this one I really like, because how do you move from being nothing to being everything, right? It's really hard. I mean, today I was nothing, tomorrow I'm everything, and then back to nothing. This is actually a really cool chart I found online. Not to be hard on yourself, because it's not easy to switch and feel comfortable. But the good ones I really like here, obviously they're all really useful and helpful, but don't compare yourself to others, because you are not them. And definitely in my life, when I was brainwashed by my culture, I felt like I'm nobody. Even though I had master's degree, I was making a lot of money and was in good shape, I still felt like I'm nothing in comparison to some other people. And this is the wrong way to go, because we all have a different path. And other people may end up in different places, even though they may look like they have much more than you, they achieved much more. And I think the answer to this is accept your weaknesses and your features, because we have something to offer that other people don't. We just really need to learn about self and basically shine through our own gifts, our own talents. And I like that also intelligence is relative, because some people may think, oh, I'm not smart, or they are not smart. Self-esteem is not relative. We have to offer to the world what we have to offer at our own time, our own pace. And it's important to surround ourselves with people who want us to succeed. That's why it's important sometimes to get out of our environment that's not supporting and just start creating from scratch. And again, these are 3 tips from 10 years ago I found on my own blog. And the first one, and I'll send you the link to that article, join several social groups, because we're limiting ourselves by maybe our environment, or we don't know about our talents because we've never even tried to uncover them. So all kinds of ways to do it, through hobbies, right? Through maybe even church groups, or hiking, or education, just meeting new people, right? And doing what we really want to do, but we haven't been doing it for a while. It could be a simple hobby, but this will be the beginning to us feeling engaged with ourselves and finding our own strengths, if we are not allowing it to happen yet. And then don't be afraid to look or ask for help, because sometimes we think we're very special. There's no one with our problem in the world. However, there are billions of people, and someone will be able to suggest something, even anonymously, if we type it on Google or on Quora. And again, making new priorities this year. If we're doing the same thing we did last year's, nothing new is going to happen. And I really like the one on the right. You may not see it well. I don't remember where I got it, but sometimes it's good not to create really high goals. Just sometimes we need time. It's like winter time. We just need to replenish our energy and get ready for this new step in our lives. And it's okay not to be super active and super achieving. And I like these goals. It's very simple. Get older, gain weight, do stuff, drink coffee, try not to die. Sometimes this is the key. Just wait, because the best thing is coming. And I want to finish with this. Sign up for my YouTube channel, because I already have a lot of presentations that I did at this event or other events. And there will be courses, as I said. First one on forgiving parents, yourself and others, then overcoming limiting beliefs and creating romantic relationships. And with that, thank you, and we'll take questions.